The Ange Postecoglou era at Tottenham is coming to an end. It's not official yet, but big, reliable sources are coming out this afternoon, this Sunday, and saying that Tottenham have sacked Ange Postecoglou and Thomas Frank is leading the race to replace him. As I record this video, I'm about to put a poll out on Twitter saying, are you in favour of keeping Ange or sacking Ange and getting Thomas Frank? And we're going to come back to the results of that at the end of the video. This is kind of just going to be a raw, instant reaction. I've spoken about it on my TikTok already today, and I had a gut feeling that this was happening. The longer it kind of went on, I thought Spurs were going to make that decision to sack Ange Postecoglou. If you are new, welcome back to the Bowman YouTube channel. The last time you would have seen me was in Bilbao, or actually in France on my way back from Bilbao, giving my raw reaction to the Europa League final. There hasn't been a video since. I've been just taking a break from YouTube, ready to go again for the start of the season, and this is how we're starting it, with a new manager. So if you are new, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Whoever the manager is, I think it will be Thomas Frank. There will be a video out this week, if the decision is made that soon, breaking down how Spurs are likely to set up under him, all those kind of things. But yeah, what do we know? There was a tweet that came out earlier from Football Insider, basically saying Spurs have sacked Ange. There was a lot of people that didn't believe it, and rightly so, because Football Insider aren't exactly the most reliable source in the world. They've got a lot wrong in the past, and also I'm pretty sure their admin is a gooner, so a lot of people didn't exactly take it that kindly. But I've been hearing whispers over the weekend that Thomas Frank has been in talks with Tottenham towards the back end of last week and this weekend. That's kind of what I've been hearing, or sort of when I've been hearing these things. And again, I'm not by any stretch of the imagination and in the know. I'm just telling you what I've been told, and now it's all kind of come out anyway. Tottenham, this is coming from Santi Ona, who's a journalist for Foot Mercato. Again, a little bit more reliable than Football Insider, coming out and saying Tottenham have held direct contact with Thomas Frank this week. The Danish manager talked with Spurs about the project and some transfer targets for the summer. Again, that's kind of in line a little bit with some of the stuff that I heard over the last couple of days. And then Sasha Tavolieri, who is a reliable journalist I can't remember actually where Sasha comes from, Belgium, that's it, has also led with the fact that he's been told that Tottenham have decided to sack Ange. Thomas Frank is leading the race to substitute him. Marco Silva is also on the list. Wait and see. The Marco Silva thing I'm not sure about. I think it's Frank. I think it will be Frank. I am in favour of it being Frank. You guys know over the last few months when I've been speaking about new managers, Thomas Frank, I've been very big on and very hot on. That said, I'm also happy with keeping Ange. I just don't think it's going to happen. My gut feeling the last couple of days is that he was gone, and it was kind of the longer it went on. Spurs needed to make a decision. We need some stability. We need some direction going into the summer. We need to start getting our ducks in a row when it comes to the transfer market, especially when you see teams kind of moving ahead of us in the race. Not necessarily for certain players that we're in and around for, but you see them maybe leaving us behind in some of the business that they're doing. You can caveat that by saying the likes of Cunha, Delap, those deals were kind of done a while back for Man United and for Chelsea. Obviously, there's a lot of groundwork that's kind of gone into them. But yeah, Spurs need to get their ducks in a row, and I feel like we'll hear something official probably tomorrow, or maybe even tonight. I think it will probably be more likely tomorrow morning. How do I feel about this? After the final, or in the run-up to the final, I said that I think it'd be best to part ways with Ange regardless of what happens. Then the emotion of it actually happens. You can't pre-feel that. You can't feel that before the game. So naturally, you start to get a little bit swayed. You get drawn back in, especially with the practicality, the pragmatism and the adaptability that we showed in the final. Obviously, our hand was forced with the injuries, but the way we defended and the way we have defended through this Europa League campaign gives you that little bit of faith that maybe we can apply those methods on a more consistent basis next season to maximise the squad we've got in terms of being able to actually not play such open football, putting the kind of the pressure on them from a physical point of view, and also just making us win more games. But then I'm in the stadium in Bilbao. I see Ange lift the trophy. The players, that connection is all there. You go to the parade on Friday. He's saying season 3 is always better than season 2. The players, look how happy they are. Look how happy they are for him. I think momentum is a big, big thing in football, and that is a big risk I think that Tottenham are taking to move away from Ange, because I think that obviously we had no real momentum going into the final other than the results that we generated in the Europa League. But in terms of the feeling, it was all just bleh. It was blur. Like it was just like there was nothing really to properly kind of latch onto. Whereas now you can build off the back of that. You can build off the back of Ange winning that trophy and potentially cultivating a winning environment, which is something that we've been desperate to do at Spurs. So it's a risk. It's a risk to sack Ange, and I think maybe in these situations it might be better the devil you know. But I think the longer it goes on, the emotion starts to kind of get sucked out of it a little bit, and you start to kind of feel like where I'm at the moment. And I do think Ange is going. I think Ange is brown bread. He's done. He's sacked. I think that's happening. So we have to move on and come to terms with it. I think this is going to create a bit of a war in the fan base. I think from what I've seen, there is a bit of a positive reaction to Frank. I've been very big on him, and I've had a lot of people kind of agreeing with what I've been saying. A lot of people also disagreeing with what I've been saying as well. They feel like it's a very underwhelming appointment. A lot of people would have rather gone for someone who is clearly an upgrade on Postecoglou. I think there was a lot of people maybe holding out for Inzaghi at Inter. And despite last night, I still think he's an incredible coach. And I think obviously the Paratici links, I think that was kind of drawing people in a little bit there. Whereas for me, there's some concerns I have about Frank in the sense that I think Levy might be looking at this as his kind of perfect appointment in the sense that he might want him to come in and replicate that kind of Brentford model. It's like, it's an excuse not to spend a load of money because look at the miracles that he has worked at Brentford. And he has. And this is why I love Frank as a coach, because I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves for working with what he's got, dealing with the loss of Ivan Toney this season and making them a better team. 10 points behind Champions League football, I think they finished. Their best ever finish, their best ever points tally, growing year on year. And I feel like with Frank, and I tweeted this out earlier. Let me just get my Twitter up and we'll come back to the results of the poll in a sec. But I said I've been saying this for months. He's my number one choice if Ange is sacked. In my eyes, he's the best attainable manager out there for us. He's a floor raiser. The standards will go up. I think he's the best, makes the most of what he's got. Great at building community with the fans and in the dressing room as well, which again, there will be obviously a bit of a fallout from Ange probably being sacked. Again, we don't know, but these are professionals who will hopefully get on with it and get over it quite quickly. And I think Frank, in terms of the character that he is, when you see some of the stuff that Brentford have put out and the work that he's done in the community, like he's a really good guy who I think is capable of cultivating respect and also a cohesive, happy environment in that changing room, especially with the younger lads, definitely. And is capable of playing far more aggressive football than people realise. I also followed that up by saying, of course, I have big concerns about the impact of Ange leaving, what that does for dressing room harmony, etc. But these players are also professionals. I think Frank will be the best fit at building any lost harmony back up again. Obviously, we could lose Romero, which is huge. Again, it seems like Ange and Romero's futures are kind of intertwined. Whatever happens, though, if we sack Ange or keep him, we have to get the window right and build with quality. That's the thing that concerns me the most, regardless of the managerial situation. And again, that's one worry with Frank, is that Levy might feel like he can sort of carry on going down this path of bringing in a lot of youngsters and taking those kind of moneyball-less gambles, which I think there's definitely a place for that, and we've shown that we can buy some elite talent. I think Bergvall is an elite talent. Gray could grow on to be that. If Tell re-signs, then maybe he could go on to be that as well. I'm a big fan of Tell, and I think we should hopefully get that deal over the line. Again, we're going to talk about the squad and the transfers a little bit in more detail, because there is a lot of work to be done in terms of making this squad is ready for Europe, not making sure this squad is ready for Europe, not just in terms of quality, but also mathematically in terms of balancing that squad for the UEFA rules, etc. But yeah, I also feel like, and I tweeted this as well, would love some numbers to back it up, but I definitely feel like I've watched Brentford evolve this season in a big way, and this is something I've been saying for a while. Of course, the points tally backs it up. Again, I think they broke their record points tally, record finish, but they felt like a team not focused just on survival, but one that knew they belonged in the Prem, less reliance on low block counter-attack with more aggressive pressing and front-footed approach play, especially at the G-Tech. Frank's Brentford in the Championship were also really good to watch as well. I feel like there's a bit of a lazy narrative around Brentford being this predominantly counter-attacking side, which I think they definitely were for the first couple of seasons, because they were trying to find their feet, very low budget. Obviously, and again, that's just even more testament to Frank kind of working with what he's got. Like I said, that does slightly concern me in terms of Levy taking advantage of that. But yeah, I do really like, I do like the appointment. I can't lie. I think that balance of pragmatism and aggressiveness is what we need. We just need a little bit of ability to adapt to game state better, and I think that Frank is very good at that, and adapting to the tactical kind of landscape of the Premier League. I think he's done that really well, and that's something I've kind of just explained. It's going to be very interesting to see how he sets us up if it is him. And again, it's not 100% be confirmed that it is him. I totally understand why people are unhappy about this. I do, because I think that Ange has given us what we were craving for so long. And it is hard to strip the emotion away from that. And I'm still partly in that camp as well. Like I said, I would be in favour of keeping him, but I'm also in favour of Frank if we sack him. You know, I'm not going to kick and scream if Ange does get sacked. I will be sad, because I think you think to the future and think what could have been. But also, if we keep him and it goes terribly wrong, then we could have gone, well, we could have sorted this out in the summer. That's not to say that Frank isn't a manager that we could probably go and get him if Ange was to get sacked. But is it better to give him a transfer window and really get used to these players and get his teeth into it from pre-season? I think he's a really meticulous worker on the training ground. That's something that Ange isn't necessarily. He's not. So I think giving Frank the summer, if that's the guy, I think makes sense. I think doing it now does make sense as well. Let's have a little look through Twitter, see what people are saying. Let's have a look. George Achillia, who we all know, saying at the end of the day, I'm a Tottenham fan. I will support whoever the manager is, despite having reservations either way, but ultimately will mean nothing if we don't attack this transfer market and create a squad that can handle the league and the Champions League. Spot on. Yeah, spot on. Whatever you think of the manager, that's the most important thing. Alistair Gold has now come out and said Tottenham chairman is Daniel Levy, still believed to be weighing up the future of Postecoglou. But I just think there's a lot of stuff going on to kind of indicate that he is probably going to go. And again, Zeus there, Ange saying season 3 is better than season 2, might be up there with one of the biggest what ifs in history. But we'll never know. He might stay. Who knows? But that's kind of my thoughts on it. I totally get the upset, and I think this is going to cause a lot of division and a lot of upset in the fan base. But I really like the idea of Frank. I'm not saying that it's definitely going to work, but there are people writing him off who are probably writing Pochettino off as well. So, and again, that's not to say that people were wrong to write Pochettino off at the time. But again, these managers, I think Frank has a higher ceiling than what he is probably not showing at Brentford, but what he's maybe capable of achieving at Brentford. I think like the standards are going up every single year there. He's done such a brilliant job. And he's my man to replace Ange, and I'll get behind it, but I'll also be sad that it's coming to an end. Let's quickly look at the results of the poll before I leave. What people are saying. 757 votes so far. 75% keep Ange, 24% sack Ange, get Frank. George Bannister saying, where is the option? We can just fast forward 3 months and bored already with the option. Again, people saying that Frank is more of a risk. I think I'm either. If the alternative is Frank, just keep Ange. A lot of people saying Ange. He's building a winning culture at Spurs now, and the dressing room is fully behind him. Yes, the league form is abysmal and a big Frank support, but I think he deserves next season. That is a fair way to look at it. I think Ange probably does deserve next season. I think he does. I think he deserves a shot at it, but I also think it could go wrong fairly quickly. So if they feel like he's not the man to deliver consistent European football or challenging in and around that, then who knows? But I think it's happening. So we'll see. When it does happen, we will react to it. Daily streams are going to be back from tomorrow as well. We talk transfers, talk managerial situation. Thanks for locking back into the channel. Big summer ahead for Spurs and for the channel, of course, obviously as well. So up the Spurs, nice one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well, what you think.